Hey everyone, it's Happy Nirvana back with our travel tips from the American point of view for London. Places to see. We're to part 3. Now, we're going to start with what I called City of London and the surroundings. Hopefully everything's on here. I'm going to start with St. Paul's Cathedral right over here. St. Paul's one of the oldest, well, outside of Westminster Abbey, but it was originally a Norman church, which had a pointed steeple that was destroyed in the Great London Fire and was rebuilt as St. Paul's by Sir Christopher Wren. Just north of it, we have a St. Bartholomew's Hospital. And it's not so much the hospital we're looking at. It's just, to some people, it would be just a minor thing, but there is a placard on the side of the hospital. It takes a little bit of finding, but it's a memorial to William Wallace and actually commemorates fairly approximately where he was executed for crimes against the crown. Now, one thing on here, which is going to be different, but I'm going to mention it real quick, is the Museum of London. The Museum of London is moving. The current museum is closed until 2026, when it will be moved. I believe it's supposed to be over by Smithfield Market, if I remember right. The new one, which would be right over here. Do not quote me, because I'm probably wrong. Speaking of markets, one of your bigger markets over here, the Spitalfields Market. It's kind of on the par with your Smithfield Market and your Borough Market and Camden Markets. Down here we have the Bank of England Museum, obviously a museum dedicated to the Bank of England. And when we get through my list here, I'm going to do something that I kind of said I wasn't going to do, but I thought, well, I'll add some context to this. So once we get through the list here, I do have some pictures I want to share. That they're personal pictures that I took when I was in London, to give you kind of an idea of some of the sites that you're going to see if you get to some of these places. Now, just south of the Bank of England is the London Mithraeum, which is a Roman temple that was dedicated to, they called him Mithra. Now, it was one time was relocated from its current spot, but it has been returned to where it was originally discovered. It is in the basement of a office building, but it's pretty different experience. And a place that I did not go, but I did notice when I was bringing up this map, is the Van Gogh London exhibit, the immersion. Now, I've never done the immersion experiences, but they've always kind of fascinated me when I've seen them. So, if you're into Van Gogh, that'd be someplace to go, and it's just right there, not that far from the Spitalfields. Now, real quick, and I'm going to point this out. These fall under food and drink. The Old Cheshire Cheese is one of the older pubs in London. So if you're looking for a pub with historical reverence, the Old Cheshire Cheese would be a good spot. And the Chocolate Cocktail Club I actually went to this last time, and holy cow! Yeah, if you like cocktails and you like chocolate, yeah, their pancakes they got there are phenomenal. Was it a pancake or a waffle that I had? It might have been a waffle. So we're going to switch over to what I'm going to call Fitzrovia Marylebone area. And we're going to start with Sir John Sloane's Museum. John Sloane was a philanthropist, and he was also a collector of antiquities, and so he has a very large collection there. Just to the north of it, the British Museum, home of the Rosetta Stone, which I had completely forgot. That's where the Rosetta Stone was. But obviously, antiquities from around the world. A lot of it gets a lot of hate because of how the museum acquired the stuff. So, but it's one of those that, given the sheer size of the museum, it would take if you want to see, actually take your time and see as much as you can see. It's a whole day experience. Up here we have the Charles Dickens Museum, which is actually a Charles Dickens house. So once again, historical reverence. You're not only seeing a museum and seeing artifacts from Charles Dickens, but you're actually seeing the residence that he actually lived in. Now near that, Postal Museum and the Foundling Museum. Foundling Museum is actually obviously has to deal with the orphans. If we go north, we have the King's Cross St. Pancras station, and that is for the Potterheads. You can see platform 9 3/4. It's also where, if you wanted to go to Paris or Belgium or the Netherlands, but generally I think Paris is probably the big destination. This is where you would get on the Eurostar, which will go across under the channel out by Calais down to Paris. You're talking 2 or 3 hours by train from London to Paris, which is astonishingly quick. Now over here we have the British Library, which some people would say, why in the hell would you go to a library? Well, it's what's inside the library outside of, your normal library books. They have a massive collection. Well, maybe you wouldn't say massive, but it's a very important collection of documents, including the Magna Carta. They have, amongst things, they have handwritten notes from John Lennon, some of the Beatles songs. They have letters from Gandhi. They have stuff from Shakespeare. They have Mozart. They have Handel. So, a lot of interesting documents that you likewise would probably only ever see online. Now we come over here to Regent's Park, and that is up at the north end of it. That's where the London Zoo is at. I did not go to the London Zoo, but I've heard it's quite nice. On the other side of Regent's Park, Madame Tussauds. Now, if you like the idea of seeing celebrities without actually seeing celebrities, this would be your thing. It's a interesting experience, but not for everyone. But something to check out. Not far from there is Sherlock Holmes Museum, which obviously Sherlock Holmes is a fictional character, but the museum is actually at 221 B Baker Street, and it's pretty cool little museum. It's not a real big museum, but it's kind of a neat tribute to the character. Lastly on my list, we're going to go all the way up to past St. John's Wood to Abbey Road Studios. This is near, obviously, the crosswalk that appears on the Beatles album, Abbey Road. Also where a lot of their albums were recorded, plus a lot of other important albums by many artists, Pink Floyd, etc., etc. Now, you may notice on here that you got the Petrie Museum of Egyptian Archaeology. I was tempted to check it out. I think it is on the campus, so it's one of those things that I'm not sure the access of it, and also if it's by appointment or not. That's something that I have to really kind of dwell into. And there's a couple other things I'm sure that if you're looking at the map, you'll be like, well, he didn't talk about this or that. And I put the map up there just kind of give you an idea of where this stuff is located. So we're going to go to the picture portion of this, and I'll explain to you what we're looking at. This is St. Paul's Cathedral. Now, because of the angle, you're not really seeing the dome very well, but it just kind of gives you an idea of what the architecture is like. It is really something else on the inside. And also, there's quite a few interments there. Christopher Wren is interred there. Lord Nelson is interred there. So it's on the same scale, I guess you could say. Probably not quite as big a scale, but it's in the same realm as what Westminster Abbey is. This is the London Mithraeum. Doesn't really give you a real good idea, but they have this holographic presentation that comes up that shows you what the Mithraeum would have looked like, and it's back in the day. But once again, for historical relevance, it's pretty neat to see stuff from Roman times without actually, actually having to go to Rome. These are printing plates from the Bank of England for the pound notes. I mean, I could have showed you a picture of what the building looked like, but I just thought it'd be something different to show you something from the inside. Now there is a gold bar in there that you can actually lift. Obviously, it's in a protected case, a case that you can't take it out of, but it gives you an idea of how heavy a bar of gold is. Once again, Museum London. This is, I guess I was lucky in that I went there this past year in 2022 while it was still accessible. I was not aware. I knew that I knew there was literature about them moving. I didn't realize that while they're moving, the museum would be closed. This location would be closed for 4 years. Now they do have a sister museum at the Docklands, which is on Isle of Dogs. Now this, it's a little bit blurry. We'll see if we can blow it up a little bit. What you're seeing, you might say, well, what am I looking at? This is actually handwritten music by Amadeus Mozart, which, once again, how often are you going to say, I've seen something that actually Mozart touched or wrote? Same way with other historical figures, and it's just the idea just kind of boggled my mind. I'm a big history buff, so this is the stuff I kind of like. This is the British Museum. It is absolutely huge. Between it and Vic and Albert, between those two places, there's not going to be very many other places that you can go to places and see more within the same city, honestly. And then the Madame Tussauds, it's in it's kind of a weird building. It looks, there's a lot of stuff in it, and I guess it's a little bit bigger than what it appears to be. But once again, now this is the outside of the Sherlock Holmes Museum off of Baker Street, 221B. And there's a yoga place right next to it. How about that? But right here is the actual entrance, and it's pretty interesting. Now, right just down the street is the official London's Beatles store. I just wanted to put it up there. So, if you're a Beatles fan, they have about anything Beatles related that you could ever imagine. Surprisingly enough, I am a Beatles fan, but I did not buy anything there. Just nothing touched my fancy. This is Abbey Road Studio. It doesn't look like much, but if I remember right, I think most of the stuff's in the basement, so. And there is a museum that's right next door. Or, no, not a museum, it's a shop right next door, but I did not go into it. And all along the fence line, outside of it, people's sign their names and everything. So, and this is the crosswalk that appears on Abbey Road. I guess if you're, I want to say I'm a pretty big Beatles fan, but if you're like a huge enthusiast, this probably hits a lot different. It's surprised. You look at the album cover, and I guess maybe it's just kind of the perspective. You kind of think it's bigger than what it is, but it's not all that big. So I would say it's something, if you're a Beatles fan, you definitely want to see, but it's something that you may not be as impressed as you think you might be. It's one of those things, you build up an expectation. So that's going to wrap this up for this part of London. We'll be back with part 4. We'll be going over what I consider the northern part of London, which there isn't a whole lot I got listed, and then we'll be going over to eastern part for Canary Wharf and Greenwich. So I appreciate you coming and checking out the video. Hopefully, if you're planning on going to London, this gives you some kind of insight of things to do, things to see. A lot of this stuff appears online and brochures, but there are some things that I hope maybe I've brought more attention to that maybe doesn't grab your average person. Now there are things that in my last video for places to see, I'm going to go on the more quirky side, things that maybe not necessarily everybody's going to be thinking, oh, this is what I'm coming to London to see. So hopefully that'll bring some eyes to some out of the way places. So until the next video, this is Sappy Nirvana saying thank you for checking it out, and bye ya.